What are the best and worst things about training with your brother?
The best thing about training with Nicky Rod is that I can be relentless and not hurt his feelings because we're brothers. And the worst thing is how I feel waking up the day after. My ribs usually hurt getting out of bed.
I'd say the best thing is that he has the ability to push very hard. And at times that could also be the worst thing, because no matter how tired or fatigued I get, J-Rod's always gonna continue to push the pace. I would say maybe one of the bad parts is that we know each other's game so well that it can almost be predictable. Like, I kind of know when he's gonna jump over me. He can anticipate when a foot sweep of mine is coming. So we read each other pretty well. We've shared techniques constantly for years on end, whether that be wrestling and or jiu-jitsu. So I'd say the best thing is we push each other very hard. We constantly, even if it's not live training, we constantly share techniques and advice and try to just always keep each other elevated. It's a very positive kind of relationship that we have.
Do you ever get emotional with each other during training?
When I am going against Shay, I do not get emotional at all. If anything, I just try to make sure I don't hurt him because I'm bigger and heavier. We never really get mad at each other. J-Rod might get a bit frustrated with me because sometimes I do use my strength. It's not like a mad at me thing. It's more like a mad that a move worked on him or something,
No, I mean, we're both on the same page. Like, we're just here to scrap, There are times when we're like trying to get better, and I see a lot of people like comment stuff about how we only spaz or whatever, but you guys only see the hardest rounds because that's usually the most entertaining. You guys don't want to see the boring stuff. We're both kind of on the same page with like, we can swipe each other in the head and not like cry about it later.
Do you take issues home with you after training?
Sometimes there's like tricky situations that happen in training, and it doesn't really cause any relationship problems between us. And I'm pretty confident that's because we always talk about what happens in training and in life in general. Like, if there's like a move that J-Rod's working on, or he's having trouble with, or even me, if I'm having issues with something, we constantly talk and we banter about it. But honestly, like, we don't have too many relationship problems just because we're very open with each other. We talk a bunch. And we love what we do, right? We're in the same career path. We have the same goal of winning adcc, being the absolute best in our weight classes. I think we have a really great relationship. We just kind of try to push each other, continue to make each other better. So as far as issues on the mat carrying home with us, I would say any issues on the mat, it's more like, why did this work? How can I better it? And we're both trying to better each other. We don't really keep any techniques or anything from each other. We kind of an open book when it comes to me and J-Rod.
I usually make sure to FaceTime my mom in front of him and tell mom about how Nicky Rod hurt my feelings that day, or hurt my body that day, and how down I was feeling about it. And usually she gets on him, tell her to take it easy on her baby. But
it's absolutely true that sometimes when we go home, and if J-Rod feels like I was too mean or too rough with him, he'll definitely call mom, and mom will yell at me about it. Like, why'd you hurt my baby? Because he's the youngest boy, so he's mama's baby. So I just got to make sure I look out for him and tell him I'm sorry. She makes me apologize in front of him, just kind of degrading to me, but it's all right.
When did you start training with your brother?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question. We always grew up like roughhousing and whatnot, but there's a 5-year age gap between us. So he was in high school, I was in middle school. We're both wrestling, and the middle school wrestling team wasn't that good, so I had to train with the high schoolers.
We would train together, like, I guess not together, but we would train on the same mats at this club called Seagulls Wrestling. Seagulls Wrestling Club is one of the best youth and up-and-coming wrestling clubs in South Jersey. We have multiple state champions and people that have gone to the Olympics and stuff from our camp.
And that, I guess our wrestling together kind of started or began there. We started training together there. And then, he goes to college, ends up at DDS.
About the time that J-Rod started training Jiu-Jitsu was when DDS, right, Dan Death Squad, moved to Puerto Rico. So yeah, we started training a lot pretty much in that month when DDS moved to Puerto Rico, and I was still stuck in Jersey for a month, trained a bunch there. And then once the team split, I moved to, B team. We opened up B team here in Austin, Texas, and J-Rod came down, started living with me, and pretty much been training together for like 3 years now.
B team is the first time we started training jiu-jitsu together, like I guess full time. Like we would train here and there at Studio 84 back in Jersey, which was the first gym I started training at. But yeah, B team is like full time training partner. Like we train multiple times a week. We can't do it too much or else my body will fall apart. But
How often do you train with your brother?
Well, I think it goes in flurries. Sometimes I'll train with J-Rod every day for weeks on end. And sometimes I won't see him for a week or so.
I guess it depends how often I train with my brother. Like this past UFC PI 6, FPI 6, Nicky Rod had Roberto Jimenez, and I figured I was a good style, like similar style to Roberto. So I wanted to do more rounds with Nicky Rod in order to help him prepare for his match. So leading up to that fight, we were doing a lot more rounds than we normally do. And as you guys saw, I was being a lot more just like scrappy and just like trying to keep a nonstop pace in order to help him, because I knew it was going to be a grueling match. Roberto's very, very talented.
If I'm trying to work bottom or work open guard, I'll do a lot of that stuff with J-Rod because he's fast, has really great guard passing, and I try to work my guard retention and my bottom game from there because I know where he's tough at. So where he's best, I try to work kind of the opposing aspect of that to make myself better, make the training harder for myself, and in turn it also makes J-Rod better because we're kind of learning together.
Yeah, and then I guess aside from that, I probably train with Nicky Rod probably 2 to 3 times a week. It's nothing too crazy like outside of camp. There's only so much we can do.
Pretty consistently 2 or 3 times a week, because whenever J-Rod tries to train with me, he tries to hurt me. And I don't mean like cause me physical pain, but like he tries to hurt me emotionally, or he tries to get me absolutely exhausted. And J-Rod will have these flurries sometimes where he just goes for the kill for like 60 seconds straight, exhausts himself, and then I'll do something simple like sweep him, put him on bottom, and then he gets like pissed at himself for getting exhausted, and then he'll recover for like 30 seconds and then try to kill me again.
There's only so much I can get from training with him just because he's so big. There's about a 30-pound weight difference. So yeah, it's really just like specific training when it comes to him, rather than just like I can train with people my size all the time, but I have to limit my training with him.
So yeah, I would say 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes a bit less, but I think that's pretty accurate. When we roll, it's extremely intense. I'm sure you guys have seen our rolls on the B Team YouTube channel, and we get after it pretty well.
Do you drill together?
I mean, I almost never drill. I think I drilled for the first time in probably 6 months, 3 days ago. But yeah, when I do drill with him, but that never happens. So
yeah, actually, I do use J-Rod doesn't really like to drill too much, but myself, I like to drill a little bit, and I'll use J-Rod for specific reactions. I'll like tell him where to place his hands or how to use his frames and stuff when I'm working different things. But yeah, I mean, we drill together. We do a little bit of drilling just about every day. I feel like sometimes I have to drag him into the drilling where he's kind of sitting off the side. Maybe he's watching the guys roll or watching guys drill, or maybe watching technique on his phone. But I'll almost force him to drill with me sometimes. And I'm like, hey, like, you should do this. He's like, I don't want to. I'm like, bro, just do 2 reps and it'll lock it in your brain. You'll get that muscle memory and you'll be good to go. So sometimes I have to force him into drilling, and sometimes not. Sometimes he's super interested in a technique and a specific movement, and he'll drill it on his own and then do it live from there. But he can be a bit stubborn sometimes, so I have to drag him into the dirty drilling sessions occasionally.
Do you ever try out moves at home?
After we go home from training, like we always watch over some footage, whether it's training footage or just matches that happened recently. We don't have mats back home, so it's just like either in the grass or in the living room or whatever. We'll just go over some techniques that we saw that we felt like we could be good or like wanted to play around with.
Yeah, occasionally off the mats, we'll work a little bit of technique, but we talk about technique quite often. Like maybe I'm watching a wrestling match or like we're just curious. I think one of the best things about us is that we're very curious and we're knowledge driven. Like obviously we're great athletes, but we understand the value in knowledge and technique and when it comes to jiu-jitsu. So we're constantly trying to elevate each other and trying to learn together.
How does your brother support you in your jiu-jitsu career?
So my brother supports me fucking in so many ways. I live with my brother, so I'm very thankful for that. I wouldn't have been able to afford to be able to live in Texas if it wasn't for me living with Nicky Rod. So essentially, and you know, he inspired me to begin jiu-jitsu in the first place. So I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Nicky Rod.
How does J-Rod support me in my jiu-jitsu career? Well, I think the best thing he does is try his absolute hardest when we train. I think that's the best thing any training partner could do, whether that be your brother or just a close friend or training partner. I think giving it your all absolutely every session is the hardest thing to do, and that's what J-Rod does all the time. Like when we're going after it, he's going for the kill nonstop, and that just forces me to be sharper, to be better, to be more knowledgeable. And I think that's one of his best qualities is the anti-quit and his ability to just continue to pursue. Like, you have some training partners here and there where maybe they tap early or they get fatigued and they tap from a position like, no, they get mounted and they're just like, they want to get out so they quit. That is not what J-Rod is at all. So he's not a quitter by any means, and that's one of his best attributes.
Who is better at jiu-jitsu?
I mean, I would say myself, absolutely. J-Rod would probably disagree.
All right, pound for pound, I'm definitely better at jiu-jitsu than Nicky Rod, right? If we're the same weight, I beat Nicky Rod every day.
But yeah, I mean, I've been doing it maybe 2 years longer than him, 2 or 3 years longer. So I have a bit more knowledge. I also am more precise. I do my best to do things perfectly, where J-Rod will just I think J-Rod would rather spam a move like 10 times until it works, where I would rather do it perfectly once or twice to make a move work.
Who is the better wrestler?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the better wrestler. I'm better at jiu-jitsu. I think it's just like I have more time. I think what Jay is better at than me is the judo part. I think it's mainly because of his stature. Like he can get his hips lower than opponents because he's slightly shorter than me. So he can get his hips under his opponents a little bit better and throw guys easier. As for me, I'm a bit taller, so I have to work with my length and size and accordingly. But I mean, in my opinion, I'm the better wrestler. I'm better at jiu-jitsu. And if I had to guess what Jay would say, it would probably be the same answer. He'd probably say that he's better at wrestling and jiu-jitsu. But that's how it goes. We both want to be the best. So, that's how it goes.
I'll let the numbers speak for that. I mean, our high school, Nicky Rod did 1 year in college, but before that, his record in high school was 111 wins. He was a one-time district champ, never placed in states. My record in high school was 136 wins, two-time district champ, two-time region champ. I went to states 3 times, never placed, unfortunately, but I'll let the numbers speak for themselves.
Anything else you want to say about training with your brother?
I mean, it's been great. I hope to compete on the same card as him, like how we did on this past UFC Fight Pass Invitational. It was cool to just travel and compete at the same time as my brother. That was fun. I hope to do more of that, as well as just being with my teammates and competing with my teammates as well. But competing with my brothers also a nice addition.
I remember the first time I met Jay. It was a pretty cloudy Tuesday night, and I go to the hospital, right? And I think Dad hands me Jay, right? And I'm holding it, I'm looking at him, and immediately I knew I had to like protect this guy. And I don't know what it was. I guess maybe it's just a organic, like a natural thing. Like, this is family. You feel you guys have the same blood running through you. So I just knew that I had to protect him, right? And then as we got older, I remember being fresh out of college when I dropped out, and he was in high school. He was working hard at school and wrestling and stuff. And I'd send him messages, like I would text him sometimes, be like, we're gonna be different than everybody else. Like I would text him shit like, we work hard now so we can live our lives later on, or like, we won't need to work jobs in the future. I remember specifically telling him how we won't have to have a job. Like we're gonna figure out a way to live our lives not needing to answer to anyone. And before you know, a few years later, we're both professional jiu-jitsu athletes. We're working for ourselves, living our dream. Although it is physically and mentally taxing, it's what we absolutely love to do. And we're just truly blessed to be on this road.
Why is your brother so mean to you today?
Huh?
Why is your brother so mean to you today?
Mean to me?
Yeah, you just beat the dog shit out of him.
No, that was brotherly love.
That was love?